Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Another edition of the Sports 2.0 show. Happy to be here and hosting. A lot to get. Zach Weiss with you. We joined shortly by Tanner Kern, Samir Kumar, Griff Carroll, and our man Eric Neff. But starting off, just a quick mention. It was March 24th, 2017. Happy anniversary, 4 years. Devin Booker dropped 70 at TD Garden. I was in attendance. The little boy behind me was saying, ball hog, ball hog. Devin Booker said, I don't care what that one kid sitting 20 rows back has to say. He goes on to score 70. The team did lose the game, but a second-year guy scoring 70 is absolutely nuts. You just knew Devin Booker was destined to be special, and that's everything that we've seen from him to date. He's been an incredible ball player. Has continued to be tremendous. And now, quick little segment. Houston Rockets dropped 20 games in a row. Guess what? They just won one. That's right. They won. How did they do that? John Wall shot 8 for 30, and they still won. He had points, rebounds, assists, triple-double. Rookie Jayshawn Tate, undrafted a couple of years ago out of Ohio State, continued to play well. And in picking up their first win in 21 games, they handed the Raptors their 9th straight defeat. That is a yikes from them. We don't even know what their roster is going to look like at this time tomorrow with the deadline coming up. Quick reminder, folks, we have a trade deadline special for you. Samir and myself, 3:30 Eastern tomorrow, breaking down all the trades. But the Raptors have lost 9 straight. Pascal Siakam and Nick Nurse got into it after Siakam was benched in the fourth quarter. So while the Rockets find the Raptors are all of a sudden the team with the biggest struggle. Who saw this coming? They were riding a hot streak all of last season. So goodbye, Kyle Lowry. I don't know. I hope he stays, but the odds are very slim that Kyle's going to be staying with the Raptors. And his buddy Norman Powell, known for Kawhi, trying to give Kawhi a high five before the finals, and he's just pointing straight ahead, told him to keep walking. But we'll see what ends up happening. You know, plenty can take place. But on that note, folks, you're going to welcome in Eric Neff, Samir Kumar, and Griffin Carroll. We are talking some March Madness. Eric, liking the haircut, and it's great to have you on.
Yep. I dropped about 12 and a half pounds or so of facial and head hair, so I'm very excited about that. Before we dig in here, just kind of off subject, would like to say rest in peace to the great Bobby Plager. Bobby Plager, you were the St. Louis Blues, sir, and you will be missed. We love you, Bobby, and I'm glad you got to lift that cup, man. So, no more sadness, but we love you, Bobby. So let's talk some March Madness, guys. What a crazy, crazy first weekend we had. That was, you got Oral Roberts, you got Maya Lioneye just getting Sister Jeaned right out of the round of 32. I don't even want to talk about it. You got the Big Ten just completely being a sham. Are they bad? Are we bad? I don't know. So, what do you guys think? What were your takeaways from that opening weekend? Some of your favorite moments, things like that.
Yeah, Griffin, we'll start with you. What do you have on this? It's been a wild tournament, as Eric said.
Yeah, my takeaways are I don't know why I didn't take Loyola. It's like the Butler model, a small school makes a run and then they come back.
Yep.
You got to take them again. I think I'm admitting how little college basketball I watch. Crutwig's an animal. If I knew that guy was a freshman starter on that Final Four team, I'm putting Loyola in the Sweet 16 at least. I thought they looked great. I especially in that region, which is a complete mess, I think they could make a run in the Final Four again. They looked as good as anybody. I also think Oregon looked really good. They only played one game, but seeing that balance on both sides, that definitely stuck out. Clearly, numbers don't matter as much as they do in the NBA because my bracket's awful. Lost a decent amount of bets, so we're going to regroup, and it's just on the eye test now. I'm riding Oral Roberts one more time. They look great. Big spread. I'm excited for it to get going. I'm having a little bit of withdrawals the last few days.
Oregon ruined everything for me. Everyone knows I was in on Iowa, and I was like, Iowa what? I see why. Luka Garza got no help, but oh man, Oral Roberts. Shout out to Daquan Jeffries of the Sacramento Kings, one of many, and Haywood Workman, NBA ref who played basketball in the NBA. Haywood Workman is an Oral Roberts alum, so good for the Kings to have one. Although Jeffries went on to play at Tulsa, but I'm shocked by so many of the games that we've seen. Shout out to Ohio and sports writer Jason Preston for helping them get a win. There have been some incredible performances. I'm glad I only put $15 into brackets this year. If I put any more, I might actually be worried that I just threw money away on an Iowa team that was a one-man band. But Samir, what are some of your thoughts on this March Madness tournament? It's been madness so far.
It has been madness. I feel like old perceptions have kind of come to light throughout this entire tournament. You had Villanova, they were out Connor Gillespie, from the end of their season and coming into the tournament. Many people wrote off Villanova and thought that they had no chance to even beat Winthrop in the first round, given that Villanova was the 5th seed and Winthrop was the 12th seed. So I pretty easily put in Winthrop, looking at all the mock drafts. And I was like, you know what? This might not be Villanova's year. But when Jay Wright's coaching that team and you look at the history of that program in recent years and see the kids that they developed and they're continuing to develop, you shouldn't have betted against Villanova by any stretch. I learned my lesson this year not to bet against Villanova, and going forward, they're just never going to be a team that I'm going to bet against in the first round ever again, unless obviously they play a Duke or North Carolina or, one of the more powerhouse teams. But if they're playing a team against Winthrop, you got to go Villanova flat out. There's just no rhyme or reason why you shouldn't go against Villanova moving forward. But then you also look at Ohio State. They lost to a team named Oral Roberts, and now they're in the Sweet 16. I can't get over that. Oral Roberts? When I was filling out the bracket, I was like, man, this team already has a funny name. You think I'm going to pick them to beat a second seed? And, I got family ties to Ohio State. My brother went there, so that by default makes me a fan. So it's like, I got Ohio State all the way to the Final Four. They're going to beat Arkansas, in the Elite Eight. It's going to... Actually, not even Arkansas. Sorry, I had Texas Tech beating Arkansas. So whenever Ohio State and Texas Tech were going to face off, I had Ohio State going, even though Texas Tech is a team that I personally am a fan of. I'm a fan of their program. I'm a fan of Chris Beard. They should have beaten Arkansas, but oh well. But in recent history, too, you look at Ohio State in college basketball, they just don't go far. They always find a way to choke. So I learned my lesson through that as well. Don't pick Ohio State to go far ever again, because they're going to disappoint you year in and year out. So, that's where I'm at with that.
No Aaron Kraft, no Jared Sullinger, no Greg Oden, no Evan Turner. Who they got? They ain't got no ice in their veins with D'Lo, but as Tom Newpel just pointed out, we do say the same things every year. And folks, whatever you've got to add on March Madness, feel free to chime in the comments, and we will flash your comments and throw them up. But Griffin, a word?
Yeah, I set a Siri reminder for March 15th, 2022 to take Eastern Washington. Those Groves brothers, if you watch that game, they looked great. Tanner with that lumberjack beard, he's only a junior. Jacobs, a sophomore with the fro. Those guys were great. If they can win their conference again, I'm putting them in the Sweet 16. So we'll stay tuned for a year from now.
It is gonna.
I think we learned a lot about the Big Ten and Big 12. The Big 12 not to the extent of the Big Ten. The Big Ten just did not show up to the tournament. It gets talked about every year. The Big Ten is always overrated, perpetually overrated. Of course, not to me. I defend them because I'm a Big Ten fan, Illinois fan, so I always defend them. But this year's tournament showing pretty indefensible. We did not show up, and rather than the way I always say it, which was, the Big Ten has, a handful of 5 to 7 lost teams because they're all just beating up on each other every year. Maybe it's because we're all just really bad and only playing each other, and it's making some teams look really good. So shout out to my guys at Illinois, though. I'm excited to collect Ayo Dosunmu's rookie cards next year, no matter who he plays for. He'll be my favorite Illini for a very long time. He kind of took the place of D Brown and Darren Williams. So
shout out D.
Ayo's probably my favorite guy. I'll be excited to see Ayo and Kofi in the NBA somewhere. I think I do really believe that Ayo can be a weapon off somebody's bench. Like I don't know how you mentioned be a great sixth man.
Like how do you mention D Brown and D Will without Luther Head? He was
Without
he was
Luther Head. I knew you were going to say that.
That was my
He
NBA
was
Live 06. That was my guy. Houston Rockets off the bench.
He held it all together, man.
Dude was
He
by the way,
and
on the note of
Oh, go
college
ahead.
hoops, shout out Kim English. He had a very short NBA career, hired by George Mason today. He's very excited about that for his tweets. Kim English was one of the pieces of the Chris Middleton trade back from Detroit to Milwaukee, and then he did not play again after that trade. But shout out to him. I'm excited that George Mason had that magical run. I can't remember the year, all the way to the Final Four, kind of out of nowhere. So I'm excited for them to get back to relevance. You know, it's great to see him get the opportunity. There's a lot of openings right now, a lot of talk. Maybe Brad Stevens ends up with a job. We can talk about that another day as the Celtics continue to implode. But, fellas, anything else you want to add on March Madness before we listen to Griffey Betts talk some NBA picks?
Well, I just want to kind
of go ahead, Samir. You can go first. You go first, Samir, because I'm going to actually talk to you about the Nets. So you first.
All right. My bad, Eric. I just want to kind of just add in a thought for March Madness and say that I had Michigan State beating UCLA in the play-in game, whatever you call that, and personally, UCLA has kind of taken things to another level. They're advancing as far as they have, being the 11th seed and a team that many people counted out. So I got to give them a quick shout out and give them a lot of respect. And, I hope they beat Arkansas.
Agreed. And I did not see UCLA beating Michigan State in that play-in game. And Michigan State they did not look like the team that beat 3 of the number 1 seeds in this tournament against UCLA. That was not the same team. I know that wasn't the same team Illinois played 3-4 weeks ago. So it was also insane. But yeah, UCLA has kicked it up to the next notch. And what I was going to add before we move on is on the subject of D. Will. Samir, do you remember when D. Will dropped 55 for the Nets? I was a Nets fan for a day that day just because I never thought D. Will would drop 50 in an NBA game. I was jazzed like it was 2005 again, but that's all I wanted to add to that. Yeah, Griff, you can take over and tell us how we're gonna make.
Well, I want to quickly add that it was 57 points against the Charlotte Bobcats, not 55. So I remember that game too.
It was a trend. Melo, LeBron, and D. Will all did it against the Charlotte Bobcats, and no one's done it to the Hornets since. But on that note, Griffin Carroll, a.k.a. Griffey Betts, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Zach. I got 3 picks for tonight. Reminder on how I'm doing this. I'm creating a new offensive and defensive ranking for each team just to get the state of the league by combining points per game, effective field goal percentage, and efficiency on both sides. And if you're interested in seeing those entire rankings and all my picks for the week, it's pinned on my profile at Griffey Betts, and it's on noobsports.com. So I have three bets tonight, and it might be a good sign, Zach, that was your opening about Devin Booker, because my first pick is the Suns spread against the Magic -10. It's a big spread. There's no doubt about that. But Phoenix is, they really picked up right where they left off at the bubble. They're one of the rare teams to be top 10 in both offense and defense. And then, unfortunately for the Magic, they're one of those rare teams that's in the bottom 10 in both rankings. So that's an easy pick there, even with the big spread. And it helps, Phoenix played last night, but they're surprisingly 8-1 against the spread on back-to-backs. And they're just the best team against the spread in the league. No so surprise. I'm riding the Suns tonight. That's the first pick. You're not going to be happy about my second pick. I'm taking the Bulls. Their spread tonight against the Cavs. It was -6 when I locked it in earlier today. Colin Sexton is now out. It's up to -7.5 last I checked. So I'm feeling good. But again, Chicago is a surprising team near the top of these rankings. Their offense is 10th. Their defense is 15th. And then on the other side, Cleveland's dead last on offense, 24th on defense.
There's no rhythm. Yeah, no, I feel that. It's not surprising. I get that. But I will say this, and one thing I like about the Bulls, a guy by the name of Patrick Williams, he was great at FSU. He's a huge part of their defense. And I'll say that I'm also impressed, Griffin, because with Kobe White being moved to the bench, Lauri Markkanen's minutes being kind of spotty, they're finding a way with Thaddeus Young at center to be effective on both sides of the floor. So I just think that Billy Donovan's innovation has made them is the reason for their spot there.
Yeah, that is definitely surprising. I'm going to ride them tonight. Last pick is the Mavericks Timberwolves over. It's mostly a bet against defense here, which is my favorite way to target an over. The Mavericks come in 19th on defense, Minnesota 26th. And I'm doing a little mix and match here. The Mavericks are flirting with a top 10 offense. They're at 11. They're really coming on well. And Minnesota is second in pace. And I'm calculating pace by averaging out field goals attempted per game and possessions per game. So combine those two, I'm going to take the over. It's pretty reasonable, 231. Those are my 3 picks tonight. If you want to learn more about my system, it is pinned at Griffey Betson on noobsports.com. 13-7 since we started crunching these numbers, which is some profit. 2-1 this week so far. Plenty of games left. So excited to keep it rolling. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and I'll say this as a Cavs fan, Griffin. I like their chances. I know that they don't have Colin, but expect the unexpected when you're talking about the Cavs because they shouldn't have as many wins as they do. They're supposed to be the worst team, and they're only 3 games out of the play-in. So I'll give them that. But great hearing from you as always. I agree with the over. Somehow Ricky Rubio is a good point guard again after a terrible start to the year. With Cat playing, Minnesota's going to score a ton. But, yeah, I can't wait to see how Griffin's bets pan out. But on that note, I'm going to throw it to my partner, Kern, who is going to be on with Erik and F talking universal DH, which I scratch that. We're going to be talking a lot of baseball. So we're going to leave it to the two of them, and I will jump on after that, and we'll all have a big discussion about the universal DH. Erik and Tanner, take it away.
Thanks, Zach.
Tanner, my guy, wanted to talk to you tonight because I have a proclamation to make. All right, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. The AL East this year. The Toronto Blue Jays are good. They're good at baseball. I know they're dealing with a few injuries right now. I'm not worried about that. Not even a little bit. I'm going to say this. I'm heading into the preseason, and I'm saying right now that all of the legacies on that damn team, like all of the parents of the MLB of the 90s all got together and decided to have children at the exact same time. They're taking the NL East this year. They're going to take down the Yankees. They're taking down the Rays. There's no way. No one beats them. No one beats them. I don't care. I don't want to hear about their pitching staff. I don't want to hear about it. Vladimir Guerrero lost 1 million pounds and gained 1 million pounds of muscle. He's about to hit 773 home runs. I don't care. They're winning the AL East. Tanner, tell me they're not going to win the AL East. Look me in the eyes. Tell me they're not going to win the East.
That is the most ridiculous take I've ever heard in my life, Erik Neff. The most ridiculous take. The Yankees are going to win the AL East. Aaron Boone's Savages. Do you remember these guys are Savages in the box? They're Savages, and you don't mess with them. How are the Blue Jays going to win the American League East, first of all? Kirby Yates is now done for the year. He had Tommy John surgery. He's going to have Tommy John surgery. He's done. Who's going to come in and relieve these starters when they're getting shelled in the first inning by the New York Yankees? You talk about the legacies, right? The legacies. Kevin Biggio did not play today in spring training because he had a sore pinky. A sore pinky. That's soft. That mentality is not in New York. That's not a New York mentality. That's a Toronto mentality. Then you go George Springer. George Springer's already hurt. They need George Springer in the top of the lineup to do something. Okay, George Springer getting hurt in spring training. That's not good. And who knows? Can he even hit the ball without knowing what pitch is coming? He is a cheater. Not going to fit in well in Toronto. Then you go to the bullpen. The bullpen, who's going to replace Kirby Yates? That's the biggest question. And with the Yankees, the Yankees have a stacked pitching rotation. Garrett Cole at the top. Garrett Cole's amazing. Hyun-Jin Ryu is Toronto's guy. He is nothing like Garrett Cole. You go to the 2 spot, Corey Kluber, multi-time Cy Young winner. Who the hell on Toronto is better than Corey Kluber? Okay, Hyun-Jin Ryu, he's solid. You go to Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray has been good 2 years of his career, 2017 and 2019. Other than that, Robbie Ray has not been good, and that's a guy that they're going to lean on. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to tell you, he fell down the stairs today and he got hurt. He fell down. These guys are pro athletes. They're falling down the stairs.
That is not under my control.
It's a mess. Toronto, they don't even have a home stadium, Erik Neff. What are you talking about? They're going to be in Florida. Then they're going to be in Buffalo, New York. There is no way the Savages The Savages are going to lose this division. Okay, by the way, not that I trust the projections. I'm not a projections guy. Be your own person. You go to RotoChamp, they compile all these statistics. They have the Blue Jays 12 games behind the Yankees when October rolls around. The Blue Jays might not be even in the postseason as a wild card team, Eric Neff. That was a ridiculous take. Come on, let's go.
Listen, Bo Bichette's going to win MVP, baby. It's going to happen. I mean, you're going to see it. It's going to come out of nowhere. You got Teoscar Hernandez or Martinez rather. I mean, this team is stacked. Offensively, they're stacked. The Garrett Coles of the world, they don't matter whenever you're jacking home runs. It's home runs or strikeouts these days, and this team can hit for power. But whether they do win the AL East or not this season will be extremely interesting. I'm very excited to watch that team. Maybe I don't think they're going to completely win the East. Maybe I'm not convinced. But I will say that as more of a National League guy, I'm pumped to watch the AL East this year just because I want to see all those young kids and see how they perform. And that's right. We just had a comment from Ryan Newpel, don't sleep on the Rays. And that's another team in the AL East you cannot sleep on. I mean, somehow this team in Florida decides to trade away their playoff team every year, and we project them last or in front of the Orioles typically, and then somehow they end up in a top position. You know, they've been doing this for the last 4 or 5 years. We count them out every year because at the end of each season, they'll get rid of 3 or 4 what we all feel like are huge pieces, and then somehow they're still there at the end. So I do probably buy your Yankees nonsense. They don't quite have the pitching yet, but I'm pumped to watch that team hit. That team is going to be very exciting to hit. And as for Robbie Ray, he's a strikeout pitcher. They have their seasons, you know. Sometimes you're going to strike out 200 guys, and sometimes you're going to, you know, give up like 390 home runs. It happens.
Yeah, I mean,
Robbie Ray's still a fairly young guy too.
Yeah, I think he's been the league 8 years, and he's had a positive winning record like 2 years. So yeah, he's doing really well. But anyways, yeah,
he
you
played for the
Rays.
Diamondbacks. You can't count anybody playing for Arizona. No one who's ever played for Arizona's had a winning record. Not since Randy fucking Johnson knocked the pigeon out of the air. That was the last time anybody had a damn winning record for that stupid team. They
Rest in peace to that pigeon.
Yeah, that pigeon's gone, man. That pigeon's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see this division. I think the Rays are going to be very talented. They got the #1 farm system in baseball right now. Brent Honeywell returning yesterday. Great story. They're going to be good. They're pesky. They always give these teams trouble. But realistically, I mean, the Blue Jays don't have the pitching yet. Can they hit with the Yankees? Of course they can hit with the Yankees. But when you look at 3 through 5 in that rotation for both teams, the Yankees are going to give them a lot of trouble. I know Robbie Ray's a solid pitcher, but Tanner Roark, Steven Mass, Ross Stripling, you know, guys that have had 1 or 2 good years in their tenure. But I mean, when we're talking about the Savages up in New York, man, the Bronx Bombers are going to take this division.
I think by the time it's all said and done, I will probably end up on the same page as you. Unfortunately, I haven't got to watch as much spring training as I normally do this year. Thank you, Sinclair and Fox and all the people that are doing that to all of us. I had to get that off my chest. Just seriously, thank you for just basically not allowing about 30 million viewers to have access to their home teams and their games. So I haven't got to watch. Maybe I'm not informed. Maybe the Blue Jays don't win, and I'm going to blame that on Sinclair and Fox. But for now, we're going to move on because I'm wrong and I feel like an idiot. So thanks, Tanner. Thanks for setting me straight, Tanner. I appreciate that. And whenever the Blue Jays do win this division at the end of the year, I'm going to come back on this. I'm going to be like, I was joking about joking. I was serious, and you're wrong. Anyway, I'm going to take it. Zach, take it away, Zach. Take it away.
Yeah, I will take it. I'll take you both. No, that was great. That was great. Samir's going to be joining us as well. Today's big topic, and I'll start it off and then throw it to you guys, the universal designated hitter. We got to see it last year for the first time in a non-interleague game. AL teams have the DH. NL teams also have the DH. I think it was nice. So I'm a little old school, and I only have one reason for ever liking the fact that it wasn't universal. The guys like Carlos Owings, pitchers that can rake, and I mean rake, like Joe Bland in the 2008 World Series. I went to broadcasting camp in 2009, summer after, and we had to record doing play-by-play over clips. That was the clip that every single person at camp, I mean, the camp was near Philly, but everyone wanted that clip. And now I think they need it. I think that back then, I also just like pinch hitters. I like when you have to make a decision at the pitcher spot. Do you keep the reliever that's crushing it in the 10th or 11th and extra it's in the game? Or do you pull him for the pinch hitter to keep things going? And I think that the NL starting pitchers never got the amount of time they needed, because they had to be taken out for offensive purposes, kind of like in the NBA when you see offense for defense at the end of the game, except the repercussions are a lot larger. You have to take out Garrett Cole in the 8th because he's supposed to bat. Your relievers might not get it done. So now I think, yes, Zac Gallen just hurt his wrist, which we're going to talk about. I mean, there's other factors in play. Max Scherzer was so against it, and everyone was like, oh, then don't sign in the NL. Times have changed.
Well, the thing with Zac Gallen and other guys that have been in that situation, Adam Wainwright, he lost a whole season. He got injured running out of the batter's box a couple of years ago. And that was when I've always been against pitchers hitting. I think it's the silliest thing in all of sports. It's really silly. The only thing I can think of the only hotter take I have is that I think kicking should be completely taken out of football, because it's stupid and has nothing to do with the rest of the game. They're just like randomly like, you go kick it. Like, what are we've been playing a completely different game for the last, just go kick it. The whole season's on the line, go kick it. But just picture in a game of football, if 2 or 3 times a game, we were like, hey, Tom Brady. Yeah. Hey, go kick this 48-yard field goal. Why? I don't get to practice that. We don't care. We don't care if you don't practice it. Just go do it anyway. And don't miss. It's so silly that we make players do something that they don't get to practice. I can't imagine. Can you imagine being an MLB pitcher right now in the National League having to hit? You're going up there seeing 97, 100 with sink, and you haven't hit since guys were throwing 72 when you were a freshman in high school. I mean, yeah, no, you're going to look like an idiot. You haven't practiced in a decade. That's so silly. Also, put me to sleep every time a pitcher bats. I mean, there's been like 2 pitcher at bats in my lifetime that I've ever enjoyed, and I don't even remember either one of them off the top of my head. So that's how enjoyable they were. I don't even know. The one where what's his name did a 360 and then he hit the home run. You guys know him. Bartolo Colon. I could not think of his name to save my life. Bartolo Colon. See, we would have missed out on Colon's homer. That would suck to not have that moment exist. I'm glad that moment exists, but now that moment does exist, pitchers hitting is never going to get any better than that. So there's no sense in trying to top it. It's not going to happen. So let's move on from pitchers hitting. Let's let the players that practice to hit the ball hit the ball. It's just silly. And also, you were saying with the strategy, I do hear that argument. I get that argument a lot with the end of the game strategy, completely different. Agreed. But different. It doesn't take anything away. It changes the strategy, because you can completely flip that argument on its head as far as who a pitcher is about to face. You don't get to it puts the decision more on the defense than the offense. You can look at it a lot of different ways, but I have always been a proponent of the universal DH. I think Rob Manfred, who was trying to ruin the sport of baseball, kept the wrong rules and threw out all the rules I liked from the COVID season last year. The runner on second thing is the most absurd thing I've ever heard, but the DH should have stayed. And eventually I think it'll get there. But right now, MLB owners are using that as a bargaining chip against the MLBPA, which is absolutely ridiculous. And until the owners just say you can have the DH and we don't want anything in return, I don't think we're going to get it. Because right now it looks like the PA is against it, and they're not. We'd have it tomorrow. I was talking on my Discord to a few guys about this today. We would have the DH tomorrow if those guys would just say, you can have it and we don't want anything in return in the next CBA. But owners are rich and greedy, and that'll never happen. So anyway, different topic for a different day. What do you guys think about the DH? Let me argue with somebody who's for it. Somebody else be for it.
I just got one thing to say, then I'll throw it to Samir, and then we'll go to Tanner. I just want to say that Rick Ankiel would not have had a second career if he did not get to that while he was pitching. That's all I will say. Let's go to Samir.
I pretty much agree with everything you said, Eric. I don't think there should be a DH. I mean, sorry. I think there should be a universal DH in baseball nowadays. I don't think pitchers should be going up to bat. It's an unnecessary risk for pitchers to get up there and go to bat. We saw it with Chien-Ming Wang back in 2008 in Houston when the Astros were in the National League. We saw Chien-Ming Wang running a second base, and he lost a good season and pretty much all of his effectiveness throughout the rest of his career just based off of running the bases. It's an unnecessary risk to have a pitcher out there batting when, their bat's just not going to provide any sort of value for a team that's looking to win games. They don't get base hits very often. That's why you get pitchers that batting in the, well below the Mendoza line, in the very low hundreds, or, they'll be lucky to crack 100. So when you're looking at the game of baseball, why are you going to promote guys going up to bat who can't even put the ball on the bat and get it out of play most of the time? They're just regulated to guys that are just bunting guys over from first to second or second to third. Why put yourself in that situation when you can have a DH or another hitter go up there and perhaps bring that runner home? It makes no sense to me. And then you're taking jobs away from guys that can actually hit the damn ball. If A-Rod was playing in the National League at the end of his career, he would have been out of luck at that point of his career because no team would have been able to take on his contract or would have been willing to take on his contract in 2015. And how does A-Rod respond being the DH for a full season? He hits 30 home runs that year and helps the Yankees make it to like the wild card game, not necessarily playoffs. If you define that as a playoffs, that's on you. It technically is, but for the Yankees, that's not the playoffs. That's not viewed as the playoffs whatsoever. But anyway, A-Rod being there as the DH helped the Yankees overachieve in a season where it would have been rebuilding otherwise. So, you're taking jobs away from guys like A-Rod, Big Papi. That's good 15 teams in the National League. They could have had their own variations of Vladimir Guerrero, David Ortiz, Alex Rodriguez, all these other guys that can hit home runs and bring excitement and entertainment to the game. So why are you going to take that away from these guys when you're just going to have pitchers who already have a stable job in the MLB? Just have them bunting over guys from first to second. Makes no sense to me.
Amen, Samir.
Yeah, bunt. What I want you to do is put your fingers as close to that 100-mile-an-hour fastball as you can possibly get them. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Jesus Christ, don't touch it. But get it as close, like this far. Get your hand right. That's so silly. Gosh, so silly. Go ahead, Tanner. Take it away.
So I actually wrote a blog on this up on Baseball Spotlight a while ago. So I've done a little research on it. This is all have to do with money. It has to do with the first round playoff. The MLBPA wants 50% of the first round playoff revenue. The MLB wants 50%, and they cannot get a deal done. The MLB wants more than 50%. I think they want the majority of it, 60, 70%, which is ridiculous. These players are the reason that we have games. They should have 50%. But my problem here is Rob Manfred. Now, Rob Manfred, I know you like drinking on the job, as we saw in the World Series last year. You were too drunk to present the trophy to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who had just won their first World Series since 88. I believe it was 88, but won their first World Series since 88, and you were too drunk to present them the trophy. You're just not good for your job. That's the problem. You look in the camera, you tell people that you have the player's best interest in mind in every decision you make, but the problem is you don't. This is all about money, and you are putting players risk their lives, not their lives, their careers on the line by making them get in the box. I don't pay to watch Jacob deGrom get in the box and try to hit the baseball. When Jacob deGrom's up with 2 outs in the inning, I go to the bathroom so I can get back to watch him pitch and paint the black with 95 on the outside corner. I don't watch Jacob deGrom hit. I don't want to watch Jacob deGrom hit. And you know what? This Zac Gallen injury should have been a wake-up call for the MLB and say, we got to get the universal DH in play, because if this was Jacob deGrom, if this was Max Scherzer, if this was Trevor Bauer, if this was Clayton Kershaw, hell, even if this was Walker Buehler, okay, we would not have the pitchers batting. It would be done. The deal would be done. That's the problem. Fire Manfred. There you go. It's all about money. You are a liar. That's all I got to say.
Just a piece of metal, right? Who needs a World Series run when you can just have this piece of metal?
And I mean, who doesn't want to see Bob's? Who doesn't want to see Bob's either? That's my thing.
And also this, and then this might be way past, but the fact that Justin Turner was able to play 7 innings of a World Series game with COVID-19 and then celebrate with the team after, it's a really, really suspicious situation. The fact that we got nothing on it, they didn't suspend the Astros players, but they suspended the managers. We're now both back. I'm fine with. My real problem is with Hinch. There's just a lot of factors. But anything else you want to add in the DH? I see Eric doing some head shaking.
Oh, just the Justin Turner thing. I was at home, like, all over Twitter saying, like, what is happening right now? This is the weirdest situation I've ever seen. And then Manfred's piece of metal comment on the trophy was possibly the most disrespectful I've ever heard a commissioner be to his employees, to his players, the players that line his pockets with gold. So I don't understand Rob Manfred. It's not even just all these rule changes. It's things like Tanner was just talking about, this whole quid pro quo type of thing he's got going in the CBA negotiations. Like, oh, you want a DH? Well, we want 60% of the revenue from the extra round of the playoffs. That's absurd. I mean, and it, like any one of them aren't millionaires already. I mean, not that the players aren't too, but the players make the owners make the MLB their money. I mean, give the players all the money, in my opinion. I would care less if the MLB itself actually existed. Like, why can't the MLBPA just govern the league? I feel like that in every. I mean, the NBA is a little better than the NFL and MLB. But as far as the NFL and Major League Baseball, why can't the Players Association just run the league? I mean, there's no way they're not all dumb. I mean, they're jocks. I get it. Maybe they weren't paying attention in college. Maybe their roommates were taking a lot of tests for them. Maybe they went to North Carolina. I don't know their situation. All I'm saying is there are enough intelligent people in basically any sport. They should be able to run the league on their own. I mean, I think Chris Paul did a really good job.
Yeah.
Or is Chris Paul still the NBA?
Chris Paul, that's president and Kyrie's VP. Yep.
Yep. Chris Paul, extremely intelligent player. And I mean, there's just no way you can't get a board of guys like that to run the league and then have all the players vote on everything all the time. Excuse me. Now, will the fans get everything they want all the time if it's run like that? Probably not. But we're fans. This is their job. Do they, in a roundabout way, kind of work for us? Yes. But no, they don't. I mean, they work for, a boss just like anyone else does. So I never have understood that, why we have a Players Association and then also a totally separate MLB. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. I think we do need a PA. I think we do need the league. I think both sides need to contribute to give the fans the best experience, because in the end of the day, if the fans aren't in the stands, this game is nothing. The game is nothing without the fans. But the thing with Rob Manfred is, I could care less if you want to get money. If you want to get money for the DH, I could care less. But don't look at the camera and tell people that you have the players' best interest in mind when this is what you're doing behind the scenes. If you want to bargain, that's fine. If you don't want to give the players the DH and put Jacob deGrom and Steven Strasburg's career on the line by having them step in the box, that's fine, whatever. But don't tell people that you care about the players. Just say you care about the money.
Exactly.
Pretty much with both of you right there. Rob Manfred pretty much has run the game of baseball pretty much backwards ever since he took over as MLB commissioner. He hasn't made too many right decisions, if he's made any right decision at all. And personally, I think I'm pretty much on board with the MLB PA running the league instead of the MLB itself, because you got to remember, sports are a players' league, and a players' league only. You'd never make it about yourself when you're running the league as a commissioner. You got to defer, which Adam Silver's done a pretty good job for the most part with running the NBA. He's allowing guys like Chris Paul, Kyrie Irving, and then as guys that run the NBA PA, he allows both of them to have a voice and, kind of put their thoughts into initiatives that can help, push the game of basketball. So, I got to give Adam Silver a lot of credit there. Rob Manfred, complete opposite. He's just a jerk for all I know. So I agree with both of you.
Yeah, no, I'm Shout out Adam Silver, and if you add an I between man F and then RED, it's man fired. So let's get Rob Manfred fired some way.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. Hit the road, Jack. Hit the road, Rob. Your buddy Jack too. Samir has a very, very exciting topic to tell us about. He's going to be talking about Magic Johnson's comments on First Take. Magic said Lonzo has the highest basketball IQ all time. Well, Samir, take it away. I see you're shaking. As a Nets fan, I know you got one name right off the bat that says Lonzo who?
Lonzo Ball has the best IQ in basketball all time. The guy hasn't even made an all-star game yet in his career, and he's already been traded from the Los Angeles Lakers to the New Orleans Pelicans for Anthony Davis, which is a trade you do 10 times out of 10. That's besides the point. Now you're completely disrespecting Jason Kidd when you look at Jason Kidd's career. You look at Jason Kidd. He took a New Jersey Nets team that finished with the worst record in the league, or 26-56. That was their record in the 2000 and 2001 season. And that's when they had Stephon Marbury as their starting point guard. And Rod Thorne, their GM at the time, made the bold decision. A lot of people didn't necessarily agree with it at the time because Stephon Marbury, 4 years younger than Jason Kidd, was viewed as the next big thing, the next big superstar in the league, given his ability to score. But he rolled the dice, and he traded for Jason Kidd, who was on the outs of being in Phoenix, being on the Phoenix Suns. And he made that move. And first thing Jason Kidd did when he came in was say that we're going to the playoffs this year. People thought he was crazy. People thought he was nuts. But you know what? Give me his crazy mind. Give me that 10 times out of 10. Because you know what he did? The Nets won 52 games the next season, doubling their win total. And not only that, that's not enough to convince you that Jason Kidd has the highest IQ of all time when you talk about the game of basketball. He brought that team to the NBA Finals. They had Kenyon Martin, their first overall pick. Richard Jefferson wasn't even Richard Jefferson yet. He was a rookie and very raw. And you had Kerry Kittles, solid shooting guard, but the Nets should have drafted Kobe Bryant in 1996. Let's be real. But, Kobe Bryant obviously had a lot of clout even before he entered the league. So him saying that he's not going to play for New Jersey and go to Italy instead allowed the Nets to basically make the decision and say, we don't want to take that chance. So Kobe Bryant ultimately got his wish and ended up on the Lakers. But sorry for the little digression there.
No, anytime we could talk about Kobe, RIP. Anytime we could talk about Kobe, you just do it. So you just do it. You just do it. Go ahead.
But then you got Keith Van Horn, solid scorer, injury prone, didn't necessarily live up to his full potential in the league, but it's okay. The Nets had Jason Kidd that can bring out the best out of each and every one of his players, and he brought that team to the finals. And you had Jason Collins, coming in, not necessarily, your textbook guy in terms of being somebody that can get regular minutes in an NBA game. He did the little things well, rebounding, defense. He did all that well, but on a real championship contending team, he's your third string center at best. Yeah. And then you had Aaron Williams, solid guy, good rebounder, good energy guy. But Jason Kidd's able to put together a bunch of pieces that didn't necessarily fit and bring them to the finals. And this was a team that had no hope coming into the season. So you know what Jason Kidd was able to do? He's able to change a culture within a season. Has Lonzo Ball done that with the Pelicans with a lot more talent? No, not at all. So, that's one thing right there. Now, when you consider Jason Kidd's career as a whole, you can't ignore his no-look passes. You can't ignore the fact that he knows just the right amount of space to get the ball to his guy. That's the big reason why Mikey Moore finished first in the NBA in field goal percentage in the 2006-2007 season, because Jason Kidd knew exactly where to get Mikey Moore the ball. If Jason Kidd wasn't there setting things up for Mikey Moore, he wouldn't have had that successful season. And you pair him up with Vince Carter, for from 2004 to 2008. Those two are responsible for some of the most exciting highlights of all time. And a lot of that has to do with Vince Carter's athleticism, but a lot of that has to do with Jason Kidd knowing exactly where to throw the ball on alley-oops, or knowing where Vince Carter is when he's running in transition. Jason Kidd just, can put the ball behind his back and just feed it off to Vince Carter, no problem on the fast break. Jason Kidd can roll the ball up the court, and there's just so many different ways he can get his guys the ball. And you gotta look at the highlights to fully understand what I'm saying on that. And I'll wrap it up by saying this about Jason Kidd. People are going to want to say Steve Nash. That's fine. Steve Nash has 2 MVPs on Jason Kidd. But you know what Jason Kidd has over Steve Nash? Jason Kidd has 9 all-defensive team honors in his career. He got it done on defense as well. You can't even say Steve Nash has 1 of those honors. And you can't say that Steve Nash has been to the finals 1 time in his career.
He'll be in the finals soon. He'll be in the finals soon.
But you're next, despite having superior teams with the Phoenix Suns. And Jason Kidd ended up getting in the ring with the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, he wasn't the same player. Yeah, Dirk Nowitzki was the best player on that team, but his IQ still played very well in those crucial moments of the finals and ultimately helped bring Dallas to their first ever championship in franchise history. And then you see him going to the Knicks to wrap up his career.
Weird year.
And that's the only season in a long time that the Knicks have won over 50 games. And is it a coincidence that it happened on the year that Jason Kidd was backing up Raymond Felton and setting things up for Carmelo Anthony and crew? I think not. So put some respect on Jason Kidd's name next time, please.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think he was actually the starting shooting guard on that team, and Pablo Prigioni, the oldest rookie ever at age 36, who was with the Nets, I believe now. He was a backup guard for him. But, yeah, I mean, those are some great teams. I'll just add this. I look at the 2 of them play, and if I'm going against the Suns or the Nets, I'd pick the Nets any day. And, look, Jason Kidd is an all-time great. He just celebrated his 48th birthday. He's getting old on us real fast. I'll just say this. The only thing that separates the 2 of them is shooting percentage. Kidd did everything. He got steals. He even got some blocks. He was putting up triple-doubles consistently where you don't see that from 6'4" point guards. And really, when he was getting triple-doubles, I think he moved into second all-time with like 60 or 70. Only Magic and Oscar were ahead of him for so long. And I just remember he'd get them constantly. Steve Nash's ability as a shooter made him a little more dangerous. He wasn't – Kidd probably had seasons as effective as Nash's MVP seasons, although 50, 40, 90 is no joke. I'll just say that Nash was a much better shooter, but if you take shooting out of the equation, there was nothing he did better than Kidd. So, yeah, Chris Paul, Eric Neff, Chris Paul is the point god. He always will be the point god. And, his IQ is incredible, but at the end, he's also – I want to see him in the finals. And that does not affect his case, but these 2 guys – Nash and Kidd are the ones that Samir and I grew up on. We're both in our mid to late 20s. These are the guys that kind of taught us how to be a point guard in the NBA. Chris Paul's always been great. We can point to Kidd in the Nets uniform and Nash in the Suns uniform. Chris Paul, you can point in a Hornets jersey or a Clippers jersey. You can see 3 teams in 4 years. He's still the same great player. But the way he plays is a little different. It's hard to explain, and we're going to talk about that another time. But I appreciate the comment. And Samir, any closing thoughts on Jay Kidd? Not Lonzo Ball, as we say goodbye and get ready for our trade deadline show tomorrow.
I got some closing thoughts on Jason Kidd. He should have won MVP in 2002 for carrying the Nets to as far as he did when Tim Duncan won. Now, of course, Tim Duncan was deserving in his own right, but you can't disrespect what Jason Kidd did to a singular franchise in a year span. And, when you look at Jason Kidd and his shooting, Steve Nash was the better shooter, no doubt, but Jason Kidd could have taken over one game, a single game, or multiple stretches of games without scoring a single point. He can set his guys up for points inside or behind the 3-point line. He can find his guys, get them going, and he can serve as an anchor on the other side of the ball too. He can have his fingerprints on an entire game without scoring a single point. I can't say that about any other player in NBA history that can take over one game without scoring a single point.
Well, I got 2 answers for you. I guess I got 3. Tony Snell and Joel Anthony putting up straight zeros the whole game. They take over the game by becoming the sideshow. Or in all seriousness, Dennis Rodman, who I think had a 30-rebound, 0-point game. Different role, obviously, but when you can play 40-plus minutes like Kidd, pick up 12 to 15 assists with 1 to 3 turnovers at most, grab your rebounds, and just do everything else right, that's all that matters. But great analysis, Samir, as always, talking about Jason Kidd, Tanner, Dan, Eric, and Griffin, all great having everybody on. Dan Bradley, absolutely fire with the production. of course, big boss, Ryan Newpold, Ryan and Rodney. Appreciate everything you guys do. It's been another great show, talking a lot of NCAA and baseball. And folks, if you didn't catch us live, don't sweat it. The Sports 2.0 show is available on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you name it, it's there. And if you want to watch the video replay, you catch us on Facebook at the Sports 2.0 network, or Sports 2.0, Sports 2.0 network, excuse me. You can catch it on YouTube, you can catch it on Twitter, and it's everywhere. You want to get it, you got it. And tomorrow, 3:30, myself and Samir will be on for the NBA trade deadline special. But that'll do it for this edition of the Sports 2.0 show. To all our viewers, thank you. To everybody that participates in this show, I'm honored to be able to work with all of you, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow for the trade deadline. I'm Zach Weiss. Good night.